You know how slow, bulky classes and characters usually end up having a lot of issues in RPGs and usually have trouble competing with faster options? Well, Heavy Guard is unfortunately one of those such classes and will likely remind you a lot of shield hammers from Xenoblade 2. That said, I actually think this class is okay if player controlled. There are a lot of things a player can take advantage of that an AI will not, and speaking of which, if this class is controlled by an AI, it is probably the worst class in the game. So in this video, we're going to be discussing the Heavy Guard class, talking about its strengths and weaknesses, and seeing how to use it most effectively. There should not be any story spoilers in this video, but maybe the occasional late game side quest class. If you enjoy these guides and would like to see more, make sure to subscribe to the channel because it does help me out so much. Let's get into it. Similar to the other 5 default classes, Lanz will be the best character to use as a Heavy Guard because he can get a pretty nice stat upgrade with the class no other character can get if you upgrade his weapon with a late game side quest. As such, if you really want to use this class, I recommend using Lanz. Now, the job of a tank should be to do decently strong damage, obviously not as much as an attacker, but solid enough to where they can reliably gain aggro away from the rest of the party, and also to act as a defensive wall that can take many hits and allow the rest of the party to be safe from most attacks. Heavy Guard is great at the second part, but the first part it can definitely struggle with because of its arts, especially with the AI. The first art for this class is Bull Rush. This is simply a standard topple art with a decent damage ratio that you can use once every 22 seconds. 22 seconds is unfortunately a pretty long cooldown for such a key art, but this art is still very much worth running. You'll probably need to team him with his good buddy Senna using Ogre to get the most out of it, just because she has the strongest breaking ability with that class and is the strongest possible Ogre, but nonetheless having access to a topple on a standard Kevus art is still going to be nice regardless. Crash Out is his next art and has a pretty standard 340% power multiplier along with the bonus effect of boosting aggro generated by 100%. It is also his fastest recharge at 14 seconds, which is honestly pretty sad. Regardless, the purpose of the art is to help grab and maintain aggro by giving a boost to aggro gain. As such, it's worth running for the short cooldown and hopefully ability to keep such aggro. Uppercut Slash is a very similar art with a 440% power multiplier and a cooldown of 17 seconds, but otherwise the same effect, with the only other difference being that Crash Out has an area of effect. This is your strongest art and probably worth running in most situations because of that. Now, all 3 of these arts discussed have pretty long ending animations, meaning you can't really do anything else for a bit after using the art, and the art won't actually go on cooldown until the entire animation is done. That said, if you use art canceling to get out of these arts, you can skip that ending lag entirely. The initial hits actually can come out pretty fast. The AI will absolutely never do this, and since the arts already don't have the best cooldowns, the AI will struggle heavily with the class. Speaking of slow, the 4th art is Variable Turret. Not only does it have a really long cooldown of 22 seconds, but it's also really slow. The art lasts forever, and you cannot do anything else during the animation. This time you can't use other arts that come out quicker or hit harder to get aggro. The art doesn't even get an aggro bonus compared to other arts. And the bonus effect of blocking doesn't matter much since you can hit a really solid block rate anyway of 72% with my current setup. This art is almost never worth using and will only make aggro issues with the class even worse since the 22-second cooldown won't even restart until the art finishes. And speaking of arts never worth using, Solid Stance will grant you 25% damage reduction, but also cut your damage 25%. It also has an extremely long cooldown of 36 seconds. Almost no situation do you want to cut your own damage as a tank because it makes keeping aggro much harder. Now, maybe you'd run this with some very gimmicky setup where you have the accessory that lets you revive on a non-healer roll, so you just want to be as tanky as possible, but in most normal situations, this art is pretty terrible. For Master Arts, I am running Glitter Stream to give access to a break to go along with the topple art I already have. Now, if you're relying entirely on other classes for break, this art can easily be replaced with something else. I am also running Aerial Slash because even a phase tank appreciates having some form of guaranteed evasion on their kit for attacks that can be potentially dangerous. This art helps with that and also has a decent damage ratio to make keeping aggro easier. My final art is Mighty Beat, a pretty nice smash art that also has a bonus effect of boosting aggro when the art is used. Helpful for keeping aggro and giving Lanz access to a lot of combo options that can be useful to the party. You can also take Wide Slash or Glow Ring from Zephyr if you want, but don't expect the target lock to work on anything that matters. The talent art for the class is Mad Taunt, which simply increases aggro when used. I have no idea about these specific amounts, but it's supposed to be effective. You may also want to consider Deflector Field because it can give a nice boost of damage for a bit with the Awakening status and allows you to absorb attacks while it is active. A decent option for a tank. For what it's worth, the skill set list for Heavy Guard honestly isn't too bad for a defense-based class. The first skill is Defensive Soul, which boosts physical defense by 20%. Lanz has 60% physical defense here, which is really high actually, and has very strong damage mitigation against basically any physical attack in the game, even on hard mode. That can definitely be very useful. I'll Protect You is a pretty good party support skill that reduces the damage of all allies within range by 30%. This helps the party stay alive easier as well, which can actually be pretty useful even if the class doesn't have aggro, since it could potentially save an attacker or healer from death. All around, this is a really nice skill. Aggravator will accrue aggro every second. I do not know how much aggro or how big of a difference this makes, but it probably isn't that much if previous games are anything to go by, and the AI has never managed to keep aggro with this class when I have used it, so it probably sucks. Finally, we have Tenacious Blocker, which boosts block rate by 50% when health is below 30%, essentially giving you 100% block rate in those instances, which can actually be decently helpful for remaining alive. The class has no shortage of decent defensive capabilities, but it needs to be able to use those defensive capabilities, and that's how I try to set them up. Mind for Guarding pairs very well with the high block rate, increasing damage reduction by another 20 percentage points when an attack is blocked, which makes him extremely resilient in most situations, especially under 30% health, since he'll be blocking every attack with very high physical defense. And it's also a very strong skill above this range too because of the standard 72% chance. I am also running Natural Selection, which reduces damage taken by another 30% when below 30% health, because why not? May as well make it an extremely tall order to ever actually kill this character. And finally, I'm running Fighting Prowess for the much needed damage boost on the kit to help maintain aggro. The critical rate of the class is very low, so you get essentially nothing out of crit damage, and do less damage than some of the other tanks because of that, and there aren't really other better options to boost damage and skills. As such, I think these are likely the best skills to run unless you really need a tank to run a party support skill over a healer. And for gem setup, I am running Empowered Combo because it gives a really nice boost to damage that is once again way better utilized by a human than an AI, making his attacks hit harder and increasing the benefits of art cancelling. Steel Protection is also the thing helping boost block rate to this insane amount, and as such it is very much worth running to get as much strong damage mitigation as possible. Brimming Spirit also feels pretty important for taking aggro easier, and there aren't really many other options you could choose here. Auto attack speed will not help his slow Kevis arts, attack up is pretty minimal, and the other defender effects really just aren't very useful for the class since you have no evasion with this class at all basically outside of guaranteed evasion on master arts. My accessories include a ceramic belt because we really need the attack boost to hit as hard as possible in order to make maintaining aggro easier. This accessory is very good in most situations and will always be useful. Other lower tier attack boosts work as well if you're not this far in the game. Titanium Temple Guard increases max health by 32%, which I actually like a lot on this class, since it increases the health threshold for under 30%, which means you can survive even easier at that health range. And finally, Hermit Mask is one of those accessories that increases damage to a specific enemy type, a very strong damage boost from an accessory that works all the time. You may also consider the Martis Rings for a completely absurd 79% block rate, but I think the max health is more useful in this situation just in case the enemy has a Pierce Art. There's also increases to physical and ether defense that can be nice as well. Brute Memory could even be an option if you actually manage to get to 1 HP. As far as party support, you're likely going to want access to combos since one of the main ways to keep aggro is using the Topple Art and employing smash damage. Make sure the party-wide 15% damage reduction skill is on someone as well. And finally, make sure you have some strong healers with you because as a face tank, you will be taking damage, so you will need to have healers that can keep up with the pace you take damage since there isn't really any self-sustain options in this game for tanks. And with all that said, let's take a look at how to use this class practically. I decided the best way to show the defensive capabilities of the class would be fighting the hardest super boss on hard mode. I'm not going to fight the level 200 version though because that fight would take entirely too long. This one already takes quite a bit of time. So I figured it would just be better to showcase just against the easier to kill super boss. Now, some of the AoE effects are going to be attacking my allies, but Lance himself is not taking much damage. So right now I'm just going to try to secure myself getting aggro by just trying to attack, cancel arts pretty early on in the fight. Take advantage of topples when I can. I've got Senna breaking whenever she can. It usually works pretty effectively in this fight, thankfully. I also have my own break that's not going to work nearly as effectively. I can use Bull Rush here to topple. I don't even know if I got the topple off myself. We get a daze here, which is pretty nice. Can't smash, though, because it's a daze and not a launch. I try to use Mad Taunt whenever it comes up just to increase the aggro value I have further, just in case I end up losing it. I think it can be beneficial to do that. With all the extra healing effects, with all the buffs I'm getting from Signifer as well, it's very difficult for me to take much damage at all. I don't think Alon's even fell above or below like 70% yet, or if he has, I missed it. So that's very beneficial at the very least. It looks like Mio has been taking aggro from me some, though, and she's literally AI controlled. That's kind of how sad this class can be sometimes. I am doing everything I possibly can to keep aggro. I'm trying to cancel arts effectively, trying to use combos effectively. I've got some damage boost. I'm controlling it myself, and Mio's still able to take aggro sometimes. So that's just how it goes, I guess. The smash there should hopefully help keep aggro on Lance for most of the rest of the fight. It is worth noting, I guess, when you take damage, you do lose aggro, so that could be something that's happening, although Lance really hasn't taken that much damage yet, as you can probably make out from this. Get a nice topple with the Bull Rush there, we get the launch, and then I'm going to go for the smash. Now, Lance is not the most powerful, so the smashes aren't doing too much damage right now, at least. If you combo Mighty Beat with Uppercut Slash, you can get much higher smash damage, since it'll take the damage of your fusion art when factoring in how much the smash damage will be. But just the Mighty Beat itself is not a very powerful art, so you're not going to get much out of that, unfortunately. These constant topples are nice. Topple combos are really useful. And it allows you to focus more on the actual combos with wands as well. We're at Interlink level 3, so that's something I need to keep track of as well. I'll probably take advantage of that a little bit later in the fight, especially when I want to chain attack. So this AoE attacks sometimes kill my party members. There's not really much I can do about that unless I just moved away from my teammates, but I don't really want to do that because some of the AoE attacks are not like area-based. They'll just automatically attack random people, like the transient bond he uses. And I want to give everyone that 30% damage reduction by being near them if I can. So that is the reasoning for that, at the very least. If I was fighting this just to like get a better time, I would probably be swapping to Senna for breaks and then going back to Lance if I wanted to use him. Actually, if I was going for a better time, I'd probably be using offensive classes, but you know what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and go level 3 with Lance and Senna now. I manually activated Noah and Mio's a little bit ago, saving Unis and Tyons a little bit for later, as well as other ones. I have a Force Topple guaranteed. Well, it's not Force Topple, actually. But the Topple that works on that break, Sudden Impact, is pretty useful. I use my own launch combo. Unfortunately, he does resist that break, so I don't get a launch combo on him here. I get blown back, so I can't manually cancel the Interlink, unfortunately, so it goes into overheat mode, so I'm going to have to wait a little bit to use it again. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit just because this is dragging on quite a bit. It'll still drag on a little bit longer while I'm trying to do more damage to him before trying to chain attack a little bit later. Now, I had over 10,000 health that entire time even still. It's hard for him to do meaningful damage to me. Sometimes he will get me a little bit low. He's enraged now, so it should be easier for him to get me low. I have lost aggro a few times to Mio again, maybe because of the damage I'm taking. That one hit there didn't even do that much damage to Lance, even though it was one of his stronger attacks. And we get another topple here. I'm going to go ahead and activate Uni and Tyon's Ouroboros along with Noah and Mio since they're both level 3. So they can start putting on some extra damage. And I'm going to try to build up level 3 myself and try to go for a finishing combo here. I want to show the power of smash and chain attacks, especially combined with uppercut slash, which is a pretty good damage ratio. So once we get level 3, I'm going to go ahead and activate Senna's Ouroboros, that part of this, and use her faster arts to charge up the launch combo. And then I'm going to swap to Lanza's Ouroboros and go for that. Winning Rush, and if all goes well, I'll get the combo, and I'll be able to cancel back out of this and then chain attack for a full-powered chain attack here. And what I want to do is I'm going to use a smash on this round, and then I'm going to use a smash on the final round if I can. And that should give us some pretty strong damage in general. I'll also be able to use my attackers to attack on the launch on the first round as well, just for some extra damage there, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, once again, running Baldi, and we're not against machine enemies, so I'm not going to get the best chain attack bonuses here. I'm running Valdi simply because it's better for not spoiling people, and he's functional as an extra healer if needed, especially when you're showing off face-tanking character class, so it works, it works. So now we're going to smash with Lance. Mighty Beat and Uppercut Slash. Does pretty decent damage there, as you can see. That was a pretty nice smash, and that's only round 1 when the damage ratio was only 125%, so we're only doing 25% more damage than normal. We didn't even have to cancel as well. We don't get cancel bonuses and chain attacks, unfortunately. The rest of the chain attack is just kind of making sure defense and everything gets lowered properly. Noah's going to nullify standard defensive values. Tyon lowers the physical defense down to negative 50%, so we'll be doing a lot of damage when we get to that final round of this chain attack, which will be pretty nice. Senna's going to go for the break for us, since she has the ability to break very easily. And then we can use topple and launch with other characters. No matter who we get back next round, it doesn't really matter, because we'll still be able to get the topple and launch off without too many issues. Now, it would have been a little smarter to use Tyon to topple and then Mio a little later in this round. I think I do it a little bit backwards so I don't get the launch until a little bit later. Actually, no, I don't topple this round. I wait. Since I can just guarantee the next round with Noah, and then I'll be able to topple on the round right before the Ouroboros round. That's right. I almost forgot. So now, I also get Lanz back, which is pretty nice. I do not get Uni in this section. I would have liked that because they have the strongest Ouroboros finisher. So I'm forced to go with Mio so I can get an Ouroboros finisher with Noah and Mio. So not the strongest Ouroboros finisher, but it's not going to matter because we're going to be able to kill him before that point anyway. So I'm trying to think about exactly what I want to do here. I go ahead and use Launch just to showcase his ability to topple. Like I said, it would have been smarter to just go Tyon and then Mio to get line. I could have smashed on this round instead of waiting for next round, but I'll get more damage by doing it next round, so I suppose it's better that I just waited until then anyway. I can also get the power charge back from Uni Signifer, so you'll be able to use that buff before the smash, which would be nice. Get the launch off with Mio. And we'll have an okay damage ratio for next round, 400% basically. So with the 300% extra damage, all the physical defense lowered, we can see how much damage the Smash is going to do. And one of the reasons Smash can be powerful in chain attacks, and it works pretty well with a setup like this at the very least. I don't go for it yet. Like I said, I want to pass an attack buff and power charge. And then I will go for it. I believe I used Tyon really quickly just to get to 99. Well, it doesn't really matter. Because our Smash is going to kill him. 3 million damage on the Smash itself. So yeah, pretty good. Especially considering this is not the strongest possible offensive class at all. You could definitely do even better than that. And you can easily hit damage cap with Smash and Chains. So that is something that you can do. And it can be very useful as well. All in all, I think this class definitely works a lot better when player controlled, because AI will not be canceling art, so you'll have all these really long art cooldowns that'll just not be useful. They won't get the cancel damage bonus, which they desperately need to do more damage to keep aggro more effectively. There's just a lot of issues with the AI using this class that make it one of the worst classes in the game, where they'll basically never have aggro and they'll just feel kind of like dead weight with just really slow arts, not contributing much to the team. And you'll pretty much be better off running any tank in that sense if you're just going to use it on AI. And even then, since it's not the most fun class to player control, and I think there's other tank options that would be better, this is still probably one of the least useful classes, but thankfully this game is pretty well balanced compared to like other Xenoblade games at the very least, so even this class, even Tactician, stuff like that can still be useful, so that is pretty nice. I think that is going to cover it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed and learned something from watching this video, and if you did and enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below. Feel free to give me any feedback and suggestions, and I'll be happy to hear it. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer them if I see the comments, since it's much harder to keep up with comments these days. And as usual, I appreciate all the support, so thank you guys so much for watching. Look forward to future guides, and have a wonderful and blessed day.